Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
As ready as I'll ever be. Oh, hello.
And welcome to
BooBaes.
We can start over because I got thrown off. We'll just start over.
Okay.
And 3, 2.
Blooper. Cut 2.
Wait, is it because I start, then you, and then hi. Hello.
Hello. And then I say and welcome to.
Yeah, okay. All right.
BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
Are you
and
sure?
we're still trying to get into the rhythm. Yeah, I don't know actually.
Today you might be your alter ego.
I am. I don't have a name for it, but
I was gonna ask what your name would be.
It's it. It's just it. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a drag name?
No, I don't. Me and Jazz were talking about drag names the other day, and I thought of what did I think of? But it's already taken up because I Googled it, and someone obviously on Instagram already is this name, but Panica and Tack. So it's like Panic Attack.
I love it.
Like first name Panica, like welcome to the stage Panica,
yeah.
And then Tack, yeah. But someone already has it. But I mean, I guess there could be
That's
two.
That's a good one though.
Panic Attack 2. It'd be like literally like with the 2 next to it. The second one. But yeah, we're here and we're ready to talk about a movie that, if you can already see from the title of this episode, is Pearl.
An extraordinary origin story, 2022.
Yes. And obviously is I want to say follow-up, but prequel to the movie that we just covered last week, which was X, by Ty West.
Yes, Ty West did everything in this film as well as co-writing it with Mia Goth this time.
Yeah, she actually had more to do with it in the writing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
For her and for him as a director to be like, yeah, you know what? You played this character. You know how to write for it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a super neat thing for her to be let in on the process. And like, it says a lot about her as a creative.
Ooh,
yeah.
Pinch poke, you owe me a Coke.
But yeah, that's super cool. It's starring Mia Goth, obviously. David Corenswet.
Corenswet. Not Corenswet.
Corenswet.
Tandi, Wright.
And Alistair Sewell. Alistair Sewell.
I think it's Alistair, yeah. And then a Matthew Sunderland and Emma Jenkins Pirro in supporting roles. And
it's a very limited cast.
It is. It's very Pearl centric, whereas X was kind of everybody I feel like got kind of even time-ish in that movie.
Yeah, this one was definitely, Pearl's the star.
Yeah.
She's the star.
And even in the first one, even though X were like, obviously Maxine is, I guess, the main
lead.
The lead. She didn't necessarily feel like it didn't feel like the story was so heavy on her, if that makes sense. Yeah. Which I guess is what, the new one will be all about her. Maxine.
Oh, yeah.
With 3 X's.
Because it'll be called Maxine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When is that one set to come out?
Sometime this year. I don't know if there's an actual release date.
It's so
Oh,
weird that these ones came out so close to one another.
well,
And
he filmed them back to back.
yeah.
Um, and apparently the studio, when they were seeing what had happened with X, had already greenlit Pearl to be filmed,
Yeah,
and so he
Pearl
was
was
able.
greenlit before X even
Mm-hmm.
started filming.
Yeah, and so I think that's just why, and I think this one probably he filmed later on or something.
I
But
wish it was
and then there
already
was,
out.
and then because I mean these came out what 2022, right? So
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, maybe pandemic had something to do with it, or like maybe like
Yeah,
he was barely able to get these out because of the pandemic, and then he was kind of like, oh no, I kind of need to take some more time to get the other one out. I don't know.
he did a great job considering. Do 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 do. Ty West and Mia Goth collaborated on the script via FaceTime during a mandatory 2-week quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic in New Zealand prior to filming X 2022. They had only hoped A24 would agree to make the film. Fortunately, the project was greenlit before filming began on X.
Yeah, super cool.
It
It's
was
really
super
lucky.
cool.
Very fortunate for him as a director. And yeah, this movie is what, like an hour and a half, basically.
Hour
And
42.
about, yeah, and then it goes in the style of like Technicolor films like The Wizard of Oz and Mary Poppins, and is very bright and colorful,
Yeah, it
which
was
is really
beautiful.
cool. Especially for like the subject matter that's going on in the film, and how it's kind of more of a darker story, but it's still like bright, and like even the way she carries herself at times, she's just kind of like skipping along, and it's kind of like
It was
hi ho hum,
absolutely
like
terrifying whenever she
manic.
was talking with Mitzi at the end
Oh
and she
yeah,
was all in her little like,
monologue.
what do you think? Like, do you think I'm crazy? Or and like in her little cutesy voice. And then whenever she goes, you're not gonna tell anyone, are you? I was like,
Yeah.
oh, the
Yeah.
way her just whole demeanor changed. I was like,
She's
damn.
definitely code switching. She's definitely that uh, little voice that she puts on to sound all cutesy is definitely like her mask covering up
Yeah.
like that villain in her.
And yeah, exactly. It was that
Hmm.
part had to be, I think, the scariest. Like, I got chills whenever she said that line, and I was just like, oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
That's
She
scary.
she really it's like she was able to convey with just words, and like not doing much but just talking, just how like I don't want to say the word crazy, but how like off
Maniacal.
her rocker, yeah, maniacal, and like to have no self-awareness to know like Mitzi, like I wanted the whole time to be like double camera, like we're seeing what Pearl's talking, but I want to see like Mitzi's face throughout this whole entire time, because like
Oh, yeah.
it was like I like what even,
Talk
yeah,
about trauma dumping.
for real, and talk about like um yeah, I wouldn't even know how to respond, and let
Whenever
alone her
Mitzi
being her
just,
sister-in-law.
yeah. And whenever Mitzi just calmly walks out of the house, I was like, girl, you need to be running. You need to be moving them legs. Oh,
Yeah.
I was so scared for her. And then sure enough,
Well, deservedly so. But yeah, let's get into it. We're
we
already.
open with
Mm-hmm.
some swelling orchestral music as
Yes.
we get some barn doors open onto the same farm from X,
Yeah,
but
which is
a
really
very
cool.
pretty version. The house is like yellow
It's very much in its
and
heyday as opposed to being like run down.
yeah, it's like got a
Mm-hmm.
fresh coat of paint. It looks real nice. And it looks
Mm-hmm.
so bright and sunny and happy.
Yeah, and it really is so theatrical and like so like grandiose and stuff, like the opening, especially
Mhm.
like you said with the swelling orchestra in the background, and it's really cool because it's like opening up in this really grand way, whereas X opened up on the same house, but then it's like immediately like, you know, like that Texas Chainsaw vibe.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty cool, like this way that they're able to have the same house, but do totally two different things with it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
super
yeah,
neat.
yeah.
I really liked it.
Mhm.
And the fonts that were going across the screen for the credits,
Oh yeah.
absolutely loved those.
Hmm.
I thought it was so cute, and I loved the way that it really gave you all the credits across the screen in the beginning, just
Hmm.
like older films used to. Nowadays, you
Yeah.
don't see that so much.
When you do,
Um,
it's very much like, oh, that's cool because it's not the norm.
yeah, and
Mhm.
so that was super cool. And then we slowly make our way inside the house, and we're with Pearl. She's dancing away.
She is moving her guns,
Yeah,
gams, guns, all of it, I guess. Yeah. Her body is her gun because she's lethal.
that's right. She is.
She is.
Um, and I loved the like thudding of the electricity going out that we got. The like,
Oh,
I don't, thudding's
yeah.
not the right word, but the like
Mm-hmm.
clunking
Mm-hmm.
sound as each electricity like main was
Surge,
shut off. Yeah,
unsurge,
it was like,
opposite of surge. Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
And it we get it goes dark, but then there's the one light that's
Mhm.
illuminating Pearl dancing.
Yeah, it's very like artsy, artistic, very ballerina-esque. But not ballerina because she's like, what do you call those? They're not flapper girls. What are the people in the pictures, in the talkies?
Oh,
Line girls?
blah 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 blah.
They said it at one point, I think, too, maybe. I'm pretty sure.
Like a
Like a rocket.
showgirl,
Yeah, yeah.
but
But
like a
um
can dancer almost, but without the
mm-hmm,
can dress.
mm-hmm. Very much that. Like what they did in the because this is set in 1918 or something like that, or
18, yeah.
1918, right? Yeah. Um so yeah, that's crazy.
So it very
It's
much
wild to
could
think
be
about.
Flapper.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about like that long ago. Like, wow, we'd be dead of cholera or something and or
Spanish
persecution.
flu.
Yeah, Spanish flu. And so
That was what was going around.
we have this really beautiful opening kind of showing this like what in her mind the star that Pearl thinks she is essentially kind of um and then we get this abrupt cut to mom walking in, and I feel like this is kind of happens to every kid at some point in their life.
Oh
You're like
yeah,
in your room like having a dance party or like you're doing something and then mom comes in, totally ruins
and
the
tells
fun.
you off in German.
But this mom is definitely um abusive emotionally and is like
Oh
not
yeah,
letting Pearl like express herself.
express herself.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean it's kind of like it kind of sucks because Pearl obviously has some like psychotic tendencies, but also her environment like totally probably did not help and created her to be even more who she is. Yeah, because that
Yeah,
mom was
definitely.
abusive and mean and cold,
She
which
was
I
mean.
mean
Like her
she had
little
her own
monologue
trauma.
before. Yeah, and
Yeah,
her little
yeah.
monologue before she gets set on fire. That was so mean. I was like, damn, mom's harsh.
She kind of deserved the flame.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I shouldn't say that because nobody deserves to die. But we could have put her out a little sooner. That's all I'm saying. Dress could have caught on fire, gave her a good scare. She didn't have to burn all the way. That's all. And
Yeah.
when she flipped her over, she homegirl. I thought like, oh, it's not that bad. And then she like flops and her whole head is like, like I'm like,
Gone.
damn. But it's crazy too. The like effects of fire. I mean, obviously, right? I'm not stupid, but like, it's so crazy how fast. Just like you just
It can engulf you and then
and then you
just
die like even
ruin
from
your
just your
body.
skin being burned, you know what I mean? And it's like not even, you know what I mean, like that's crazy to me that just like because like 30% of your body burns that you die because your body just can't even handle like
Yeah, the shock
the
and
shock of that happening. Yeah.
yeah, it's really wild. But Mom bursts in, tells her off in German,
Uh-huh.
and so we can kind of get that they're German farmers, or
Yes.
at least the mom and dad are German, and she was I'm guessing
German
learned
American
German
or
American. Yeah.
what if the dad was American and was the dad German? Was that ever explicitly said?
No,
Maybe the mom was just German and the dad was American.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what brought them together.
Yeah, exactly. Because it would make more sense, I feel like, for the American dad to have like an already like a lot of land, an established farm and stuff, as opposed to
Yeah.
like immigrants being able to have all that. Not that immigrants can't have that. I just mean like it's 1918. Like, come on, girl. It's
A
America.
little bit harder. Yeah. Um, but then after the mom basically tells Pearl off and tells her to quit living like that,
Yeah.
Pearl goes out to the barn and she's talking to the animals, saying stuff like, I'm special. Mama's going to
Mhm.
feel real stupid when she finds out. I love that line. I was like,
Which
that's funny.
I'm all here for the self-empowerment and like the mantras and the manifestation. But Pearl kind of takes it to the extreme.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah, she
feel for
does.
her though. Pearl's just literally living all of our intrusive thoughts out. That's
Yeah.
all. That's literally all she's doing.
She's acting on them.
Yeah. Oh, and she's talking to the what is the cow's name? Mary, and the ghost's name is Charlie or something like
Charlie.
that. Charlie, my bad.
Charlie was the cow.
And she's doing her thing, and she's kind of just like she said, telling them how she's a star, and then she goes up on the hells. Oh, the
Hay
bays,
bales.
the hells, hay bells. There you go, hay bells.
Bales of hay.
Hey Bell, hey Bell. And
This is
it's
what
funny. Cows are made of?
are
No.
made of. That's what I
Farms
was
are made
gonna
of.
say. I was like, no, cows aren't made of hay. They eat a lot of hay.
Yeah. But isn't the joke, what does a horse eat? Hay.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
it's something like that, or like hay's what a horse eats.
Yeah, that's
And
true. Is it
whenever
true? Do
you,
horses eat hay? I don't know. I'm not
yeah,
an equestrian. If there's any
I've fed
equestrians that
horses
listen to
hay
us,
before.
please send us all your equestrian facts. We love a good horse girl.
One time, I had green hair, and a horse tried to eat it because
Because they
it
thought
thought
it
it
was
was
an
grass
apple.
or an apple.
A Granny Smith. A Granny Smith.
Little Granny Smith. Yeah, it tried to eat my hair. And then I had like a little shirt on that had a green on it, like it was a golfing shirt. So like it
Mhm.
had a little bit of green on it. And the horse tried to eat that part too of my shirt.
Like actual like grass stain.
Well, it was
Or do you mean like
it
it
was
was like a graphic or like
it was a
on the
graphic.
shirt?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And the
Okay.
horse tried to eat it.
Not the horse being
So
like, this shit fresh.
yeah.
But we have her then getting interrupted by Mr. Goose. And
Mr.
unfortunately for Mr.
Goose.
Goose, she's not so happy about it. And I love how she's like, "What are you doing here?" As if like this is like been an ongoing like
Mr.
their
Goose is the
arch
police
nemesis.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah.
He comes
Hmm.
in, he's like, no.
She's
He's like
taking her method
watching out for the
acting super
mom.
serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then she kills poor Mr. Goose and stabs him with the pitchfork and goes down to the lake.
And this
And
is where we get to meet I don't know if it's the same gator or
yeah,
like
I'm not sure.
grandmother or mother to the future gators, but
Yeah, I'm not sure how long gators live.
I'm not sure either. But there were plenty of other eggs there that we see later on, so it could have been another like a baby that we see later on. But we do see that this is where she has already established a relationship with the gators and feeds them.
That's right. And
Very
its
like
name is
did
Beta.
did you ever see the movie like Placid?
No.
It stars
Alligators can live 30 to 50 years.
So that is funny because you know what? That I saw a meme the other day. This confirms that, and it was like an alligator lives up to whatever you just said, and it was like, so an alligator will in fact see you later.
That's funny.
Um,
After a while, crocodile.
and so we are feeding the gator, and we get a beautiful title card as this is happening. I love how
Right
it
as
pops
Beta
up.
lunges onto
Yeah,
Mr.
the
Goose.
goose, Mother Goose, And we have the poor the the baby goose getting mauled while we get to see this beautiful font, like you said, like it's very like 19, is that early? I don't know what kind of font that is, but it does give that very Technicolor film, like we
Yeah,
had
it
the font
does.
earlier. And at this point, I think it says after that we get like how it's 1918. We get the diegesis on the screen.
Yes, we sure do. Real big 1918.
Yes.
And we have Pearl and
Mama
Mama shucking corn and fighting,
making
um,
dinner.
per usual. And mom's like, go get your dad, uh, tell him
Get
it's
your
time for
papa.
dinner, kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And so Pearl goes and gets her dad.
Yeah.
And
Then after
that's
that,
when we first meet dad.
and we get to see that he's in a wheelchair. So
Hmm.
obviously he is not able to take care of himself. So they are his primary caretakers. They're having to do everything for him. And then I guess since we
Did he
know
get the Spanish flu? Is that what it was? And it
see
made
that
him sick and like affected his brain or something?
I didn't
They kind of made it sound like he got sick.
like already before the flu happened. To me what I picked up was that he had already had something happen to him and now this Spanish flu is happening, so he just can't doubly get sick on that obviously.
Mm.
But because he's immunocompromised, but I don't know. I don't think they explicitly say. So that it
Yeah,
could
they
have been
don't.
the flu. It could have been that Spanish flu, like maybe early on. But I don't know
Yeah,
because that means he would have had to have it already early on, and then I don't know. I don't know what the effects were of the Spanish flu. I think back then
me
you just
neither.
caught it and died
Yeah,
because it wasn't as like they didn't have as well as health
modern
advances.
medicine.
But yeah, there you go. Thank you. Did you?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. As we see that she goes later on and gets like a whole thing of morphine,
yeah.
and I liquid morphine, which is 10 times stronger than opium, which comes from the plant. And morphine back then was literally just like that, just like liquid. You could just take it, just whatever. It was they didn't really have all the effects of it studied down the long term and how addictive it is. And then codeine is 10 times stronger than morphine. And
Oh, codeine
so,
is?
wait, no, I'm sorry. I've got that backwards. Heroin. Sorry, we skipped. Codeine is kind of similar to morphine, and actually, morphine and codeine are both what people get from opioid plants. But the poppy plant, sorry, the poppy plant.
Mm.
And yeah, heroin is 10 times stronger than morphine. So that means it's 30 times stronger than like just a poppy plant, which is really crazy.
That
And
is.
yeah. And back in the day, literally up until like probably I don't even remember what year, but it was early. It was like 1916, 1980. Like everything was legal. Cocaine, heroin,
I mean, they
crack.
put
Like
cocaine in Coca-Cola.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, the more you know, that's what I'm learning in my drug class. I'm
I
basically
figured.
taking a I've today I was like I'm basically taking like a dare class, like a dare type
Yeah,
thing. But
it's
we
exciting.
come yeah, we come back to our after her meeting her dad and stuff, then we talk about she starts reading the letters from Howard, no?
Yeah, she's reading a
Yeah.
note from Howard. And then we flash to her out on the farm and Howard coming home. But
It's like a not a hallucination. She's like dream sequence, right? Or
yeah,
fantasy? Yeah.
yeah. And it took me a second to realize that though, because I was like, Howard comes home. And then when Howard was nowhere to be around, I was like, I went back and edited my note and I was like, or is that the
Oh.
postman? Like,
It could have been
I don't know.
anybody, as
Yeah.
our I was about to say illusionist projectionist later says. He's like can't tell anybody with these masks on nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
But she's reading the note from Howard. It's a super sweet note.
yeah,
Howard
he is
clearly loves her.
committed.
He is. I mean, to be staying with her and then helping her kill after all those years,
He
man's
is through thick
she's
and
got
thin.
that voodoo clam or something.
I guess so. She convinced him that she was a star.
Yeah.
Especially at the end, whenever she's just like smiling, and then it's like, what do you say?
Yeah. Like my rotted parents and this maggot-filled pig are on the table. Yeah.
Everything like
And
when
that's
she killed his
horrifying.
sister.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Fire.
But then Pearl starts bathing in front of her father. I thought that was super weird.
So weird. Like she's not even a little kid. I guess that makes like that's kind of weird too. But I mean, like it's kind of like little kids,
But
the
like
like she
they
is a
need
grown
help
adult.
bathing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like she is, and he obviously like what the fuck is he even doing in there anyways? He can't do anything.
Yeah. I know.
Like
It
so, it's
was
just
so
weird that
weird.
she kind of. I feel it's so weird because it feels like she's so weird at like wanting attention that she even is just like so cringe. Like just okay to like have her dad watch her bathe naked.
Yeah.
I feel like she like flaunts like
Yeah.
I don't
It
know.
was super weird. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I did absolutely adore this transition as the mother comes in and is like, what the fuck are
Oh
you
yeah.
doing? Basically. But
Yeah.
then she wheels the father off, and she crosses in front of the camera, it then goes to Pearl going into town.
Yeah.
And it was a super cool transition. We had a lot of those sweeping transitions again.
Hmm.
And this was one of them, but I think this was probably my favorite one out of
Hmm.
all of them. It was really good.
And I wonder if that's like I wonder if like films from back in this time period had more like if that was the style and he's
Yeah, I
just
feel
trying
like
to
it
follow in
was.
suit of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you said, she's in town and she is
Sorry. There's
no, you're
sirens
good.
going off. I think they're
Was that
gone now.
it? A one and
Yeah.
done. Wow. Pound town. And so we have her in town. She is getting the medicine and then she ends up going to the pictures like she says she's going to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it was morphine that she got. I thought it was like cough medicine.
It's
Um,
morphine. Like straight up like
and
morphine.
that's wild that she just
That
sits
she was
there and
just
drinks it.
spoon feeding it to him. Oh yeah, and then she
Yeah.
goes into it too, and she's in the movie watching it,
And she just
which is
like
so
takes
funny.
off her mask for a second and then chugs. She gets a
Uh-huh.
few good gulps in.
Definitely. Like I don't even know
And
how much. And
it, this
honestly, what are
maybe
the
explains
effects?
her actions later a little bit better now to me,
Mm,
because her
yeah,
actions later are fucking weird. So,
that's true. You mean
uh,
when she wait, like I'm kind of like when because they're all weird, but like when she's talking to the projectionist or when
no,
she's
when she's
back at
with the
home.
scarecrow.
You know what? Yeah, that honestly, now that you mentioned that, I can see how her delusion got so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with her being on that much morphine. She's a tiny girl too. Um,
I wonder
but
like what like because morphine is for like pain. So, but I guess it makes you I don't I'm have you I'm sure you've been to the hospital. I don't ever go to hospital. So I've never had morphine. I don't know what it makes you feel like.
I don't think I've ever had morphine either.
Yeah. Like I don't even
So
know.
I'm not exactly sure. But
If anybody in the comments has in the comments in the listening knows what
listening,
morphine is like, please tell
let us
us. Send
know.
us a message. Yeah.
We're intrigued.
For educational purposes, of course. And yeah, she is watching the movie. She's getting high off of her dad's supply, and she ends up leaving. And wait, before that, does she see herself in the film, right? Or is that later on in another
I think
part?
that's a little bit later on.
Later, yeah. She leaves, and then this is when she accidentally meets the projectionist out in the back alley. And also, this film is just so pretty. I love how the pipes are like pink and blue and yellow, and
Yeah,
like the colors are so vibrant. It's so cool. I
it
wish
was
the real
really
world looked like
beautiful.
that at all times.
Yeah, in high def
Yeah,
looking. Yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, she meets the projectionist. He's flirting mighty hard.
he is.
He's really trying to, you know, gas
Which I
her
don't even
up.
understand why, honestly. at that
She's
point. Like, I
pretty.
just, oh, no, I'm not saying she's not pretty, but I just mean like, it just seemed like, yeah, I don't know. It just did seem like also like,
It was a little out of
why?
left field.
Yeah, I guess coincidence, right time, whatever, whatever. But I just mean like why it seemed also too weird that like he wasn't like kind of out or had other friends or was just kind of there living in that room by himself. Like basically, you know what I mean? Like he didn't have a
Yeah,
home. He just stayed there in that thing. And I get it. He said he was a what was it called?
a bohemian.
Bohemian, so he's very like nomadic. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, yeah, he's flirting with her like you said, putting the Mac Daddy moves on, and she's taking it. She is. She hasn't been flirted with in a while. Just her dad flirts with her.
Yep. He snips her off a frame from the movie that she just saw because she liked it so much.
Yes.
And she was like, "Aren't people gonna know it's missing?" And he's like, "Not after I spliced it back together."
Aw,
Um,
so sweet.
yeah. And as she's on her way home, after she's got the little picture in her overall pocket, but
Yeah.
not super secure, and it flies out. So then
Just
she
whoosh.
stops. Yep. And then goes
Hmm.
way too far into the corn. I was like, girl, I
It's
don't
not
think it went
there.
that far into the corn.
She's high. She's high as fuck.
That's true. I didn't know she was high at the time. Well, I thought it was just cough syrup. So I thought
Morphine.
maybe she got like a little tipsy, but um she goes into the corn, the cone, and goes through and all the way until she gets to a clearing with the scarecrow.
Mr. Scarecrow, which is also kind of like the Wizard of Oz. We got a scarecrow.
That's true. And
Hmm.
it was a terrifying looking scarecrow.
Yeah, it wasn't that cute. Not like the
It looked
scarecrow from
like a
Wizard
death
of Oz.
mask or something.
Uh-huh. It was pretty high up there on the thing too.
It
But
was, yeah.
and she still was able to like get him down and then start
She
dancing with
climbs
him.
it, asks him, "May I have this dance?"
Mm-hmm.
And then dances with him. She's flinging them all around too. I was like, "Oh, I bet all his little straws coming out."
She is an aggressive mover. She's a shaker. And she has this really kind of cute moment dancing with the scarecrow. It kind of seems like I don't want to say innocent, but just kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then is it that she trips or what happens? She like falls on top of him or she just throws him down? Because she's
She
like, I'm married.
bows him over,
Uh,
starts making out with him,
that's what it is. Got it.
and like full tongue and everything, which I'm like, what in the world does this scarecrow taste like? It probably has bird poop on it.
Dirt,
Like, ew.
disgust.
And but then all of a sudden she pulls away and she sees the projectionist's face on it. And that's when
Yeah.
she throws him and yells, "I'm married."
Hmm.
And then she, I don't know, I
It
almost
just
said
kind of
comes to her
ends up.
senses, but like she regains her composure and then dry
It's
humps the scarecrow.
it's weird because she says that, like you said, and then it's kind of like she's almost normal, but then yeah, just decides to try hump it, and the music and her both reach a climax.
That's right. And
Hmm.
um
And we
her
also
moan
had,
is so loud that it triggers all the crows to like go flying, and I was like,
yeah, I thought that was
Mama
funny,
probably knows.
right? And then also at one point during in the midst of all this happening, the projectionist's face was on the she like hallucinated it. I don't know what's the proper word because I can't think right now, but she saw his face, so she was obviously kind of fantasizing about him in that moment.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what happens. She ends up doing it with the Scarecrow Man, and then we cut to her bathing with her dad.
Yeah, she comes home and she's got the scarecrow's hat on, so her mom's like, "You better go wash up
Mm-hmm.
your hair and stuff. You'll be lucky if all you have is lice. Like there's no telling what kind of germs are on it." And then
Yeah,
yeah, she starts washing up in front of her dad again and then starts choking her dad. Starts like
yeah,
she's like
totally
touching
forgot
all
about
over
that.
his face
She's
and like
psycho,
ugh, and then just starts choking him. And
and he
he's
can't
like,
do anything about it because he's
"No, that's so
yeah, unable to
scary."
move. Yeah. Um, Which is crazy because she really is showing all the signs of like a true um psychopath. It's not a sociopath. Is that a
Yeah, I can't
psychopath?
remember
Yeah.
the difference
Which one
between psycho
has,
and socio.
but like how she can like literally just like she's toying with him. Like she's just trying to see how far she can go and she knows she can do it because he won't do anything to her.
Yep.
It's so
It's pretty
crazy.
wild. Um, but then we cut to them eating dinner, and she's sitting there taking her first bites, and then her mom's like, "Where's the extra money I gave you?" She was like, "I know there's 8 cents missing."
I can
And
fucking
Pearl's
count.
like, "I got some hard candy on the way home." And her mom was like, "Well, you don't get no dinner then. Candy was your
Yeah.
dinner." And she was
What a
like, "Mama,
bad
I rode all that
lie.
way. I'm hungry."
Literally her voice. And she's like pissed off because her mom won't let her eat, which I'm like, you know what? These are hard times, Pearl. Like, you should have come up with another lie.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, I fell riding my bike and I lost the 8 cents and I searched. And that's why I have the scarecrow hat because I was in the field and I couldn't find the 8 cents in the corn.
That would have been a nice good lie.
And you still maybe could have had dinner. But unfortunately for her, she doesn't get to eat dinner. And then her mom sends her off, right?
Yeah.
No.
Sends her, well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she gets
She
up
gets
and then
onto her
she
more.
tells her to come back to the table.
That's
And
what it
then
is.
she
Yeah.
goes away and she gets upstairs and she's praying. She's like, "Lord, make me the biggest star ever known so I may get far, far away from this place."
And so then we have her praying and that shooting star goes by. So it's pretty lucky for her, but I guess not that lucky because it doesn't turn out that great for her.
No, it really doesn't.
No.
And then we cut to her milking a cow.
Yeah. Milking the cow. And this is whenever her sister-in-law and mother-in-law come over. Not, is that her mother? Yeah, her mother-in-law. I couldn't think of it. But
Mm-hmm.
Mitzi, and we never get the mom's name, but they've come to bring a pig because they're trying to, just be nice to the family. They're like taking care of them because obviously their son is Howard. And they are like, we're worried about y'all being all the way over here. And the mom immediately is just like, we don't take charity.
We
Like,
don't need that.
and that just goes to show you that like that mom is deeply fucked up because like this could literally help you survive, but you're so
Yeah.
prideful that you're like, no, I'm not gonna take it.
There's a whole
That's
pig
wild.
when all they've been eating for dinner is corn and potatoes.
And water. And like in
Yeah.
a soup. Like, yeah, it's crazy. And so we have Mitzi coming to talk to Pearl because she sees her, and you can tell that Mitzi's like, I like Mitzi. Like, I feel so bad for her later on 'cause she like gets the
Yeah.
shit end of
Mitzi
the
was
stick.
a good friend.
She's literally the only person who's being a real friend to her, like genuine.
Yeah.
And Pearl is just yeah. Ooh, and so Mitzi gets to tell Pearl that their big break might be coming because there's going to be auditions at the church for a show that's going to be coming through that goes through different towns, I think like 10 towns or something like that, to
Mhm.
put on a show for the army people.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
audition's going to be on Saturday at 11
Hmm.
a.m. And Mitzi says, "Splendid. It'll be our little secret," which,
Us sister-in-laws got to stick together, huh?
exactly.
Hmm.
But that reminded me of the first film of
Oh yeah.
X.
Yeah, when she's like, it'll be our little secret. And I think at a certain point, I don't know if it was earlier in the film or if it's already happened, she just done the thing, but not yet.
Yeah.
I think it's later when she's
I
killing
think
maybe
she
the.
has.
I think she's
She
already
does
done it
it
at
at
some
some
point.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like very like innocent, but then we see later like how that comes to play. But
Yeah.
she ends up going into her mom's attic again or whatever wardrobe and steals another dress from her mother.
And
Um,
we get the 8 millimeter film reel of her dancing. This is
yes,
when we get that little of her on
like
the big pictures.
uh-huh, a vision, hallucination
Ooh.
of sorts. And then we have her mom coming to try to find her, but her mom can't find her and she's getting the stress. And then she ends up sneaking out to go see the projectionist at through the window, I guess, because it's nighttime and her mama went to bed. The amount of times I snuck out of the house. Same way. Through my window in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she ends up talking with him, meeting him up. And this is when he gets to talking to her about like his life, how he's like a traveler, he doesn't stay in one place very long, and he wants to get into uh was he called did he call them snuff films or something else?
Um, I think he called him a stag film.
Stag, that's the word, my bad, not snuff. Yeah, a stag film, because the film that he's showing her ends up turning, into a R-rated movie. And
Yeah.
she's like, whoa. And he's like, this is the new thing, baby. This is what's going to take over the world, which is very reminiscent of what we hear through X. So it's funny how
Mm-hmm.
like we have the same kind of like medium, but in kind of different stages of its life, and how people are like ready to capitalize on sex sells, baby.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
he says going overseas, like that's the place to do it because the arts are so much more alive over there. And
Yeah.
yeah. So and then they're talking and stuff about, her big break, and she says the line, she's talking about her parents and talking about how burdensome it is to be on that farm with them, and then she says, if only they would just die. And
And
he was
he
like, Wicca,
hmm
what?
he was immediately like, "What'd you say?
Yeah.
Like,
And
what do you
then she
mean?"
was like, oh, nothing.
Yeah, because that's a red flag for him already.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, anyways, that basically
Yeah.
sums it up there. And she sneaks back home. She gets home. Mom, or Ruth, is sobbing. And
While being hardcore.
yeah, she was loud.
And it's
Um,
so I think this is just I think one of those small moments too where excuse me, granted their relationship isn't good at all. It shows Pearl's lack of empathy for someone else, because like her mom is literally sobbing and she does not go to go be like, "What's wrong? Are you
Mom, it's
okay?"
okay. Yeah, she just
Yeah, like
opens the door, kind of looks at her like, what the fuck are you doing?
yeah,
And then
like
gets back into her room and then looks at the picture of Howard and says, what are you staring at?
yeah. She's so ready to like she's so like it's always like it's always woe is her, but like fuck everyone else's problems, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and then it's the next morning and she's taken dad outside to the lake, and they get down to the dock and
It's the most
she,
half-assed plan.
yeah, I mean, it's a good way to dispose of the body, I guess, but what
Yeah.
about the wheelchair and stuff too? I guess it'll sink.
And
I
then
don't
like
know.
her yeah, and obviously she's talking to him. She takes too long because her mom comes out and is like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, the moment she called for Theta, I was like, oh shit. She's got the Crocagator coming out, and she's gonna kill her daddy. Um, but
Thankfully mom
mom,
comes out. Yeah.
yeah, mom catches her in the act. She's like telling her dad, this is no way to live, daddy, and stuff. And then mom's like, what are you trying to do? And takes dad back inside. And then she goes on the hunt for Theta. Can't find her, but does find her little nest
Hmm.
of crocagator eggs.
Yeah. Which she takes one.
Yep, she
Which I
stole
guess we
it.
don't. Yeah, we don't. Do we see her like? No, we just see that she ends up going back to the barn, and she goes up top to like the second story of the barn and
Yeah,
puts
the
the
little
egg.
loft.
Puts the egg into like a little bale of hay, kind of like you would a hen's egg. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought like we were getting the backstory of like, oh, this is the baby from the future and this is gonna be it. But she does something so crazy and grabs that egg
He
and just
does.
squishes it.
Till it
And
explodes.
it also another moment just showing you just like how like much she craves control and like the power she felt over doing that to like the egg and the live being that could have been inside it. That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, because there was blood
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And as she squeezes the egg and it explodes, we also see Howard coming home and exploding too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah, it's like she's imagining that him being him,
yeah. And
even
so
wilder.
that is pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then they're at the dinner table yet again, and she makes the grand mistake of telling her mom about the audition, which she had sworn Mitzi she wasn't going to tell anyone.
Keep it a secret.
But she tells mom about the audition, and mom pretty much is like, okay, no, and just
Mm-hmm.
lays into her. She says a whole bunch of things, says like they're going to be frightened of you just as I am and stuff, like admitting that she's afraid of Pearl.
Yeah.
And she says it's a matter of time before you hurt someone else. And she's like, I won't suffer for you any longer. And then she says my favorite line, which I was just like, holy shit, this is harsh. When she says, when you fail, and you will fail, I want you to remember what it feels like, because that is what I feel every time I look at you.
That is one of the harshest things that anyone could probably,
Mic
like
drop.
a mother could tell their child.
Yeah, that is
Like,
horrible. I
like
would die.
the amount of scalding, like the read. Yeah, it's really sick. It's really like sad because obviously this is a mom and a daughter relationship, and the mom has gone through circumstances in life that are made her so callous and cold towards her daughter, but yet her daughter, who just happens to have like all these like kind of psychotic tendencies, for lack of better terms, um, suffers on that end. And it's just kind of like it's almost like this was a problem that was just brooding and waiting to, erupt at some point.
Explode. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I don't see where the situation could have gone anywhere else at any point. It was just a matter of when and how. And yeah, it's pretty gnarly. She tells her that, and at this point, I think my notes are just like, man, this is fucking intense.
Yeah.
And it gets so heated that at that point, is that when Pearl slaps her because she said
Yeah.
that?
So the mom slaps Pearl first.
Yeah,
Pearl screams, I hate you. It
yeah.
was a really good scream that she did. And
She's
then
a
she slaps her mom, and then they just
mhm.
start fighting. And
I
then,
love how the dad's eyes are just wide the whole time, just like,
yeah, he's
God
like, what
damn,
the fuck?
what the fuck? Yeah. And they're fighting, they're kind of tossing turning around because they're still upright. They're not on the floor or anything like that. They end up on the wall, and this is whenever the mom ends up with her back against to the wall, and there's a chimney there, so there's a fire going on, and her dress catches flame. And
Yep.
unfortunately for her, it goes up quick. And Pearl also
That's
does not.
because all of those clothings back in the day
Yeah,
were
that's true. The
flammable.
layers and the layers, right? You had like your
Yeah.
skirt, your this and your that and your this and your pantaloonies. And so she catches on fire and Pearl doesn't do anything to try to help her out. That mom is just flopping like a fish
Well, she
for
gets
a
the
while.
boiling water.
I was about to say, yeah, she then decides to get hot boiling corn water and throw it on her, which is just, I mean, golly, like what a way to die or go. I mean, she's technically not even dead, I guess, but what a way to go
Yeah,
out is
she's
being
not
burned and then getting put out with scalding hot water. I guess
hot
at that point,
water.
I don't
Yeah.
know that you'd even feel it anyways because your body's in complete shock, and
Yeah,
pain all
probably.
over.
But it
But
does successfully put the flame out.
yeah.
And mom is not in good shape.
Not at
And
all. She
Pearl
flips over
drags
and
her
you can
body
tell.
down to the oh yeah, she
No,
flips her
yeah, just how
over.
burned she was. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not fun.
And then Pearl drags her down to the cellar, and then we basically flash to her leaving. She goes to straight to the projectionist, and as soon
She
as he
got
opens that door, she's like sucked onto
murder
his
made her
lips.
horny as fuck,
Yeah, it
is what
did.
this means. Yeah, she goes there, they're sucking face, and they end up doing it,
Yeah,
as one
sleeping
would say.
together.
And this is whenever I guess we end up waking up the next day, right? Because then she's talking about how she's got to go because she's got to audition for her big gig. She's got to practice for her audition. That's right.
Yeah, and she woke up to a start because she had a dream of her on film again. And then she looks out into the crowd as everyone's
Oh
applauding.
yeah,
She sees Howard, Dad,
and her
and
burnt
her
mama.
burnt mother.
When she takes that
And then
mask off, and you just see her face, her mouth.
yeah, and she's like smiling, and
Yeah,
so she wakes up with a start because of
that's
that.
right. Yeah.
And oh my God, I just remembered last night I woke up with a big start.
Oh,
This is
really?
like the third night in a row I've like shot up in bed. And Andrew's been like,
Wow.
what?
What's
But
wrong?
then last night I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember what was happening in the dreams,
In the
but
dream? Yeah.
yeah. But then last night after I shot up, then we woke up like 20 minutes later to someone like screaming bloody murder outside of our apartment. We had to call the police.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was wild because it woke us up and like we were like,
Yeah. Like they were
what is
screaming for
happening?
help, or like it was just
Yeah,
like ah.
they were like, she was screaming like, go away and stuff. It was
Yeah.
really terrifying. And then I
Domestic
still was like half asleep,
disturbance.
but
Yeah.
Andrew was freaked out. He couldn't go back to bed.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I can see that.
anyways, the projectionist offers to drive her home, which
Yes.
was his first mistake.
Ooh.
Um,
Ooh. A nail in the
well,
coffin.
maybe letting her in the door in general was his first mistake. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
hope the pussy was worth it.
yeah, I don't think any pussy is worth that.
No, not at all. But he ends up taking her home, and on the way home, it's when we do see that they end up passing someone who looks like it could be Howard, and he's like, "Do you know that person?" She's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I know. I thought it was going to be Howard.
I
And
thought
I
so
thought
too.
whenever that thudding was happening in the house and as they were making out on her bed, I thought it was going to be Howard coming home and being like barging in the door.
Technically, though, because all this is happening, no, there's no way it could have been Howard because that person would
Yeah,
have
because we see
arrived
him get
there.
dropped off in the
That's
car
right.
later.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Anyways, so we have her getting home and she rushes in. She tells him to wait because she needs to make sure that everything's okay, obviously, because the way she left things. And so dad's obviously there. He's freaked out. Poor thing's probably soiled himself and is just like, has not been fed and is just in the mess of things. And so she cleans up. She goes to check on mom. Mom's still like kind of not there, out of it. And then she ends up doing one of the most craziest things I've ever seen anybody in my entire life do. And that is literally try to introduce this man to her father when she just killed her mother as a married woman. Like,
Yeah,
and she's
it
just
was.
like, and the way she just gets up next to him and it's just
Cozies up to him.
like
Yeah,
this
like
him, like
this
here he is.
him. Yeah,
The craziest amount of delusion. Like I was just like, this is so insane. Like it's so crazy.
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and it almost felt
as
real.
yeah,
Like I don't know.
agreed.
Yeah.
And as they got home too, we see that the pig is still on the porch covered in maggots now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which I feel like was his harbinger of death.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you
Red
should get
flag.
out of there. Yeah. And but then she's like, "Should we go up to my bedroom now?" And he's just like, "Okay." And they're making out on her bed, but he's clearly not into it.
Yeah.
Um he's just kind of like, ugh. But she has no recollection of that. She's just like, okay, let's keep
No
making out.
self-awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they hear this like dull thudding, and the projectionist is like, what is that? And she's like, oh, it's nothing. And then he gets up. He's like, you know what? No, like we should go check what that is. It could be your father, for Christ's sake.
Is this when
And
he says also too like what's the matter with you? Right?
yeah, I think so.
Right? That's like you can see her face already be like, well, it's very triggering for her. She's like, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes down there, he follows the thudding sound, and he almost gets to the cellar door before she stops him and says, "It's the dog. he made a mess whenever we
Yeah.
came, like whenever I was gone. So I put this fruit cellar so that way he wouldn't make more of a mess while I clean it up and stuff. And then it cuts to them showing him all the barn animals, and she's
Yeah.
telling him each of their names and stuff like that. And you can tell he wants out of there so badly.
He is like, this is getting awkward as heck. Like, you're
Yeah.
weird. He's getting the it times 10.
Yes, he
Hmm.
was. And I was laughing at this point because I was just like, he is so uncomfortable and it
Yeah.
shows.
And
But she's not picking up on it at all.
she's totally showing her crazy and like showing like just how like she's just everywhere, and it's just kind of like, why are you so like, whoa, like what is happening here, baby?
Yeah.
And that's whenever he asks her again after she gives him he asks her what's the name of the dog after she names all the animals in the barn, and she's like, we don't have a dog. And it's just like, oh, facepalm, because she literally just lied and said she did. And so he's
Yeah.
like, I thought you said it was in the cellar. And she doesn't even like try to come up with the lie.
Backpedal or anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
she's
just like,
just
oh,
change
yeah.
just changes the subject or something like that. Because then
Yeah.
immediately he's like, "Well, you got to audition, like you got to practice for your audition, right? And I gotta go, so I'll talk to you later, Pearl." And she immediately is just like, "Wait, why did you go cold? Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
And then they have a little bit more back and forth, and he just finally snaps and he says, "You're scaring me, Pearl."
Hmm.
Like,
Which is
and
just what
then
her mother said would happen.
exactly. And so she is then that was the words he needed to say in order to flip that switch in her
Trigger
brain
warning.
to make her go
Yeah.
murderous. And she picks up that pitchfork, and I love how we get it from her point of view, kind of as
Mm,
we're walking around the car.
yeah.
And then she just says, "You're not gonna leave me," or something like that, and then stabs him with the pitchfork right in his little tummy.
So crazy. And he's just like, whoa. And tries to put the car in drive. It ends up going just a little bit. Poor guy is bleeding out. And it ends up coming to a halt. And she comes up to him. And then she pulls him out and then stabs him even more and in the head.
Through the mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, I was like, damn, she is losing it. Like,
Yeah.
she is unhinged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was just like, blah.
And yeah, and like she's yelling at him and she's just like letting out literally all of her emotion. Because at this point, she he, he was like he was a person, and especially like a guy who she thought was seeing her as like, oh, she's hot, she's perfect, she's this, she's that. And then when he really tried, like saw like the mask on, like, and he wanted nothing to do with her, it was very much like all of her fears and all of her issues like just like coming to the surface and being seen like
Yeah.
that. She couldn't handle it, and she was like, nah, you're dead.
Did. And then she goes back, checks on her mom, and uses her own words against her, except for instead of saying, "That's how I felt every time I looked at you," she says, "That's how I felt every time you looked at me."
Mm-hmm.
And then she takes her father, bathes him, and gets all dolled up herself, and then comes back downstairs in this red dress, which is on the like
The posters and all
thumbnail, the
the
posters. Yeah.
promotionals. Mm-hmm.
So we know we're getting to the meat of the movie now. Um, but she comes downstairs and smothers
She
her dad.
she kills him, yeah, with it's a
Pillowcase.
pillowcase sheet thing. Not even the
Yep.
actual pillow. It's just the case.
Yeah, she took the pillow at first, and I was like, "Uh-oh." And
Yeah.
then she took just the pillowcase, and I was like, "Okay, maybe not." And then it was like as soon as it started panning up to that little canary
Oh
finch
yeah.
thing, I was like, "Oh,
And then the
he's dead."
thudding, and then yeah,
Yeah, and then you could
and
hear
the
it.
bird going crazy. And
Yeah.
so yeah, she kills her dad. And so there we go. We've removed all of the obstacles that were in her way to become a star. now all she has to do is go audition and get taken on the road. Um,
Exactly.
and so she ends
And
up, uh-huh,
oh, I was going to say she ends up pushing the car
yeah,
with the projectionist into the lake, and that's the same car we saw in X.
yes, exactly. Which we thought maybe could have been some other people that they killed, but it was just him from that long ago, which is pretty crazy that it was still
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Yeah.
That no, the police work really wasn't good back in that
Oh
time, I
yeah.
guess.
No, no. Um, and I mean, I guess they were all the way out in the boonies, I guess, if that makes sense. So I'm sure, yeah, they tend to themselves and they could get away with a lot. And she ends up going to the church. She sees Miss Mitzi there. She takes her seat and she's like very quiet. She's kind of like laser focused at this moment while Mitzi's trying to be all chatty and like trying to, asking her questions and talking about the audition and telling her how nervous she is. And they're moving closer and girls are coming out crying and Mitzi tells her they're probably only going to take one girl, so hopefully either you or I get it. And Pearl's just like, nah, bitch, fuck you, this is mine.
It
Like,
has to be me.
because even
And
Mitzi's
Mitzi's
like,
like, I don't think you meant to say that out loud.
and she's like, mm-mm, I have to have, it's mine. And so it's so
Yeah,
funny. And Mitzi's just like, well, if it's not me, then I guess I'd like it to be you. Um,
exactly.
and Mitzi then has Pearl change positions with her because Mitzi is nervous. So this puts Pearl, and I think honestly, this kind of shook Pearl for a whole second because she was kind of like thrown off her game for a minute. But she ends up going into the audition, as they call her in, and immediately you can kind of tell, like, okay, like these look like it might be a tough crowd.
Yeah, they're all stone face, and it's like dark in there. It looks very grim. Um, it almost looks like it's like an execution or something. Like it's
Yeah.
just very stoic.
Hmm.
But she lines up, X marks the spot, which I thought was clever, the little
Yeah.
X. And
Another tie-in.
then she starts her dance, and it reminded me of like Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, but it
It,
does. Yes,
I was like, this is giving Napoleon Dynamite the whole time
it
I watched
does.
it.
Poor thing.
Um,
Yeah, because it's a little cringe.
yeah, just a bit. And but then it like transfers into this like cute little postmodern war dance scene thing going on.
Yes.
And it like she's got like all these little army gals dressed up in their greens, and they're dancing along with her, but she's a star in red, and they're doing like little kick lines and stuff, and this is all what's happening in her mind. So in her
Hmm.
mind, she just gave the best performance of her life.
There are fireworks, like the shebang.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then they finish and she's just like and then they're like, miss, and then she's like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be a no.
I
And she's
love
like,
it because he's so
what?
nonchalant with it. He's just like, no, and she's like, yeah, she's so surprised, and she's like she
That's
can't
the
even
best dancing
understand
of
what they're
my
saying.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's like, that's the best dancing I've ever done. What do you mean it's a no? And she's like, kind of spiraling at this point. And
Yes.
then he says the words that they're looking for someone younger and more and blonde, someone with X factor. And I imagine that's why she hates blondes
Yeah, I
later,
can see
whenever
that.
she says that in X.
Oh yeah, and she's because he's asking her about which one, and she's like, they don't like blondes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Man, Pearl's spiteful, and so she
she
ends
is.
up
And she holds on to a grudge.
forever, dude, and she ends up like they're having to kind of like escort her out, like the hook and everything, and then we cut to her
And she's
literally
slipping
just.
between reality too, because she sees all the people she's killed plus
Oh
Howard
yeah,
as the
yeah,
panel of judges as well. And so it's her like mom telling her like, no, like we're not gonna take you, like get off the
yeah,
stage kind of thing.
yeah.
And she's screaming, no, I'm a star, I'm a star.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, takes her out and she's just sobbing.
Sobbing because honestly, I mean, yeah, she's realizing that like she got this no, but it's not even just a no, it's the fact that like she just literally killed her mom, her dad, just like killed this dude, was really riding on like everything's gonna change, like this is gonna fix everything, like my whole life's gonna be different, and now it's like she has nothing at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love how Mitzi kind of comes up and it's just kind of like, um, I can take you home because I mean, she is sobbing like I've never heard anybody sob in my life, honestly.
Yeah, she was. I know. It was so like heaving and
Uh-huh.
just so dramatic. And then as soon as Mitzi rounded the corner, I was like, "Oh no, she probably made it." But I never really can tell if Mitzi actually did make it or not. I feel like she didn't because she
I
like
don't think she
says,
did.
yeah, whenever Pearl's like, "You can tell me," and she's like, "I didn't make it."
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was worried that she did, and then I was like, "Uh-oh, Mitzi's gonna get killed." Um, but
Uh,
I was hoping I was wrong, but I
you
wasn't.
weren't. Nope. Confirmed.
Um,
And she ends up taking her home. And this is whenever Mitzi brings her in, and Mitzi notices that the pig is still there, and she's like, "Is that our pig?"
yeah,
And Pearl goes in with her. They sit at the table, and this is whenever we have Pearl talking to Mitzi and just really just like laying everything out online because Mitzi is like, imagine that I'm Howard and just speak from your heart. Tell me what you want to say. And Pearl just goes with it and literally spills all the beans.
yeah. She says like, "I'm worried that there may be something real wrong with me. Afraid there's something missing in me that everyone else has." And then as soon as she mentions the Howard thing, she goes, "I hate you so much for leaving me here that I hope you die sometimes." And I
Hmm.
was like, "Damn, that's probably not the best thing to admit to your sister-in-law."
Yeah, not a good
But
idea.
okay. Yeah. And then Mitzi like kind of tells her go on, and she goes and admits to being with the projectionist. So she's laying everything out on the table.
Oh
She
yeah.
We find out that she was pregnant with Howard's baby, but it died and she was glad that it did. And then she says, "What if this is it? What if I'm right where I belong?" And then she says, I feel like what I remember from the she goes into the second half of her monologue, which I feel like I remember from the trailer.
Mm.
Um and I just got to pause and say that this monologue of hers is incredible. She
Oh
did
yeah.
such a fantastic Mia Goth did such a great job
And it's a
just
long. It's a lot of
acting,
words.
yeah, through this whole bit. And she only took minimal there are only minimal cuts when it
Yeah.
would every so often pan
Show
over to
Mitzi.
Mitzi's face. Yeah.
Hmm.
Or cut to Mitzi's face. And those were like the only cuts. So she was having to do a majority of these like long winded speeches in one take, which was
Hmm.
really impressive to me. But she goes on to say, "I know what I've done, the bad things, the terrible, awful, murderous things. I liked how they felt at the time. I wish I didn't, but I did." And then she goes on to say how it was at first only animals smaller than myself without feelings, but Mama and the boy from the picture house were different. And I wish I wouldn't have done what I did to Daddy.
Yeah.
All I really
So
want is to
crazy.
be loved.
Poor
That's
Mitzi's
all
just
she
taking it all
wanted.
in. Yeah. She just
Yeah.
wanted love, but she couldn't accept it.
Nope. And
No,
then poor Mitzi's just like,
I'm gonna
"Okay."
go.
Yeah, the
I'm
way that
gonna
she's
step out.
like, "I should probably get going now." She like
Yeah.
it was like that, like slaps her hands on her knees, except for it was on the table. Well,
By golly, look at the time.
I
It
should
looks
get
like I
going
should be somewhere else but here.
anywhere
Um,
but here, please
Anywhere but
God.
here. Yeah, that should be. Is that a name of a restaurant or anywhere but here?
Probably. I know it's the name of a song by
Should be.
Mayday Parade.
There should be a restaurant called January 6th. Oh, sorry. I only because I saw March 6th on my phone right here, and so I'm like thought of that. Anyways, um, and imagine like an insurrection themed coffees and like never mind. Anyways,
That
but
would be,
it's more for satirical. It's like an SNL skit. Um,
yeah.
but we end up having Mitzi, poor thing, kind of getting herself outside of the house. But before she can, like, Pearl's like changes in that whole demeanor and is in her voice, like, "You aren't gonna tell nobody, are you?" And then
Yeah.
Mitzi's like, "Yeah, of course
Terrifying.
not. Sisters-in-laws got to stick together."
Right?
And she ends up leaving, walking out the house, and it's so funny because she's just walking slowly, and then Pearl comes out and she starts to get the axe, and then Mitzi's like, "Oh hell," and she starts to run. But
Yep. I was like,
doesn't
go run.
quite
Oh,
make it.
and she had also said to Mitzi, no one has to know, it can be our secret. And with the little shh at that point. Or maybe
So
the
this has
shh
become
comes
a trend.
after she kills her. But yeah, Pearl comes coming at her with the axe, and I was like, "Oh God, run, Mitzi, run!" And then she trips, and I was like, "God damn it, get up!"
Even if she wouldn't have tripped, she wouldn't have made it. You saw how she was running.
Yeah, Pearl was like speed walking. Pearl
Hmm.
wasn't even like in a full run,
That's how
but
Michael
Mitzi was
Myers
in
walked.
heels. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mitzi was in heels, and
on
that
like a country road, like it's not paved.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good way to roll your ankle real fast.
country road. Isn't that a song?
Take me home to the place I
Is that by the
belong.
Beatles?
West Virginia. No, it's
Ozzy Osbourne.
yes. Oh fuck, what's his name? John
Bruce
Denver.
Springsteen. Oh, John Denver. Oh yeah, Doug, because it's in Final Destination.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. Yep. And anyway, she kills Mitzi and then she goes back, cuddles with her mom's corpse, which was real like and then I uh, I
What?
gagged so much when she was it's making me nauseous. Brushing her mom's hair and
And the
then there were
hair's
just
falling out, and the
chunks of the
scalp,
scalp. Oh
skin,
God, it's like literally
blood.
making me gag right now.
Yeah.
Ugh. It was so nasty. Ugh. I put the green throwing up face emoji just a
Vomiting.
bunch. I was
Yeah,
like, no.
she's getting them all gussied up because she's recreating a dinner scene, trying to, I
And
guess.
she's getting
Hmm.
rid of the other things. I like this like split kind of mirrored camera work we've got going on here
Yeah.
that's happening with we see her like chopping up Mitzi's body, feeding her to Theta, setting the dinner table, getting her dad in there. And yeah, she sets up the dinner table all nice and pretty, sets down the big maggot filled pig on a little green bed of lettuce and stuff, or greens, I don't know,
Yeah.
and puts her family around the table and prays the prayer her mom always prayed.
And that's the day the lights went out in Georgia. I'm just kidding. But yeah, she ends up basically like, I guess she's trying to create a sense of normalcy because she basically ruined her whole fucking life. And she's just pretending like they're there with her. And
She's,
it's really her not
she's
accepting the reality of what she's done.
yeah,
Yeah.
for real. And she it then cuts to an army truck pulling up, and we see Howard hopping off and coming home, and he comes home all excitedly like, Pearl, I'm home,
Hmm.
where are you, kind of thing. And then he just like walks into the kitchen, sees the scene before him, looks at Pearl,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
it's
she's just
he's
smiling. She says,
she's
Howard,
just
I'm so happy
smiling.
you're home. And then just smiling through tears. And it I liked how it just panned, like just kept it on her smiling face
Yeah.
the whole time throughout the credits, and then it just slowly shrunk to the black with the
Hmm.
circle little effect. I don't know what that's called, but
Yeah. Very old school
yeah.
back in
And
the day.
she's just like smiling through tears and just looks unhinged.
Crazy. She is yeah, like basically giving off like if you were to, you could basically make it like a short and just like show the end credit of her smiling like that and be like, this is the film Pearl. This is Pearl. And you would get the same gist of how crazy she is from just her looking and all her facial expressions
Yeah.
from everything that she did in the film. You know what I mean? Which is really cool that as an actress, she's able to convey all of that emotion in just her face. And especially after everything that we had just seen in the movie, it's like, wow, like this person is literally like broken, unhinged, like
Snapped.
Voldemort status.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
definitely.
creating Horcruxes. And yeah, and we don't get to see anything else because that's the end of the movie, and it just kind of ends on her in that face, and like you said, it going to black, and we have all those credits over it, and it's a pretty cool way to end the movie, I'd say.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. And
mhm.
we can infer that Howard probably freaked out a little bit, but still kept with her in the end.
Yeah,
So he's
he's committed.
just as
It's
unhinged as
hard to
she
find.
is.
It's hard to find these days.
Yep. Someone
So
who'll
if
stick with
you're
you through thick and thin, to
looking for
to
someone
death
who
do
is
us part,
committed,
like he said.
right? Yeah, yeah. This would have been a great segue for like a dating app, like sponsor us. Um, um,
Brought to you by Hinge.
literally the dating app that you delete or something like that.
Yeah, the
But
dating app intended to be deleted.
and so yeah, that is 2022's Pearl.
It
Pearl.
was.
I like the way that rolls off the tongue. And yeah. Do you want to say some fun facts real quick before we get into boo ratings, if you have any?
Sure, I can. Yeah, the pornographic film shown to Pearl is called A Free Ride from 1915. It's a real vintage stag film. The film's production is the subject of some debate. It surfaced in the 1970s and was at one point sold by a shady distributor as a hardcore D.W. Griffith from 1915, while silent film historian Kevin Brownlow has posited that it was made in the early 1920s. So,
Okay. So it was from that
um,
time.
yep.
Yeah.
So that's cool that they actually did the research and found that. Um, Tandi Wright, who plays Pearl's mother, was the intimacy coordinator on X, and was offered the role of Ruth as the shoot on the first film was wrapping up. According to Ty West, she learned German for the role in a hurry and became so convincing in her accent that she fooled two German members of the crew.
That's crazy. That's
I
commitment.
know.
Cool for her.
Yeah.
It's
To
talent.
prepare for the tone of this movie, director and co-writer Ty West suggested that Mia Goth watch Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, and The Wizard of Oz from 1939. So we
Yeah.
got those Technicolor films in there. And then Pearl's alligator is named Theta after Theta Bara, who was an American silent film actress and one of cinema's earliest sex symbols. Viewers may notice a poster of Theta Bara as displayed on the exterior of the picture house that Pearl regularly frequents.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. I remember those pictures that were on the wall. Um, I would say after watching both X and this one, this movie.
Oh, she played Cleopatra.
Oh, Cleopatra, that's so cool.
And
Like in the original
because the,
one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's so
sorry.
cool.
I looked
No,
her
you're
up because
good.
I was like, I wonder what she looks like.
Mm. What's she
Oh, yeah,
gorgeous?
she played Cleopatra.
Um,
Interesting.
like, right? I wish I could go back in time. I
Sex
would.
symbol.
Ah, that, yeah, I can see it. It's giving drag, drag queen.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would like to get into the boo ratings. I would give this one a 4.5. I really think that overall it told a kind of very specific story, not specific, I'm thinking of a different word, but it told a story that was like small but big in a way, if that makes
Mm.
sense, because like it's just, just really these really few characters, and it's all based on Pearl's story and her timeline and what the span of what kind of creates her into who she becomes later on in the film. And I really like all of the stylistic and creative choices that were taken in like matching the tone and vibe of what the time frame was into the style of the film that it was, and then all of the references that it also made to the X movie, like the X on the stage, and then like an extraordinary origin story. And I enjoy when things are like, packaged really nice and well and like a complete set. So it's really cool how he had the foresight to kind of make X and then make this, and now have another movie coming out with it as well. Um, and everybody did good in acting. Mia Goth did really good. That, I guess, intimacy coordinator, who I guess isn't even an actress, like she did really good as the mom, if she's not even like an actor, and doesn't have that many
Yeah.
credits. She was very believable, and her character was very, it helped to explain also a lot, and helped to almost like kind of humanize Pearl in a way, which both movies do. They do a really good job of really making you, I don't want to say like necessarily sympathize, but kind of understand how someone would get to the point of where they are. Um, and trying to think. Yeah, I wish that we could see, like, this would have been cool if it was like a series, you know what I mean? Like a limited series, maybe like 8, 10
Mm.
episodes, and we could have gotten even
Hmm.
more kind of like story into back like everything going on, or maybe even after Howard comes, like 2 episodes left of like how things kind of went on.
Yeah.
But if the movie is leaving me wanting more, then I feel like it was a pretty good movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I I gave X a 5. I think I
Uh-huh.
did enjoy X more. Um, so I'll probably sit around a 4.5 with you as well. Um, it was a beautiful movie. Really well shot. I really enjoyed all of the, like you said, the cinematic like efforts that they made to keep it in line for the time period, and with those Technicolor films and like Wizard of Oz and stuff to set the tone for the film.
Hmm.
And I thought that was super cool. Um, and then I really appreciated just all the little, like you said, the nods to X, and really creating a universe of sorts. And it's not just like, oh well, this happens to line up. Like, no, everything was intentional, and I think that's super cool. We know that we're big fans of that over here. um but yeah, it was a beautiful movie. I really enjoyed it, and the acting from everyone, Mia Goth especially, was just outstanding. And
Even the
yes,
dad's acting, like the dude in the wheelchair, like his facial acting, like the whole, like when, especially when his eyes are like, whenever he's like really afraid of
yeah,
Pearl, like
the
just like
sheer terror that went across his face. Yeah.
bravo, my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he did a great job too. Yeah, everyone was phenomenal in this film, and it was just like I said about X, it being a cinematic masterpiece. I think this one's pretty up close there with it. I think it was a little bit slower in terms
Yeah.
of everything, and a lot of the killing and stuff didn't actually, there wasn't as much killing
Mm-mm. Yeah.
in
No,
this
and it wasn't
film.
as necessarily gory or anything. Um,
It was
but
more of like a really dark story
yeah.
rather than like a horror like slasher film.
But
Um
if you think of Pearl in terms of it, like if you rearrange the thing, like Pearl being like the first movie and then X being a sequel, because in terms of time they do fit that way. Like
mhm.
it kind of works where it's like, the sequel always goes bigger, it always goes more in. So
Harder, yeah.
yeah, more kills, more deaths.
Up the
Yeah.
E.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. But yeah, I think that was my only thing that like knocked me down that point 5, was that it was a little slower at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like, it just kind of dragged it out a little bit. But I think all of it was still very relevant to the story. I don't think there's anything I would change about the film.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I agree.
yeah, overall, it's a 4.5 for me as well.
You heard it here, folks. First, live on the podcast. Well, not live, but brought straight to you, recorded
Coming to
at a past date.
later.
A 4.5 from your BooBaes on Ty West Pearl.
2022, an extraordinary origin story.
And yeah, I'm really excited to see Maxine and see how this all kind of wraps up or concludes, or where he takes it.
Like, does Maxine become a killer now?
Like, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that could be explored in that film. Yeah, most definitely.
Very curious to see what it'll be like.
But as always, we have been brought to you guys by our lovely Rogue Media Network. They take good care of us, and while we may not be in the studio right now, we are so thankful for them. And you can listen to our podcast and many other podcasts on their website, which is roguemedianetwork.com.
Yep. And if you want to listen to us or any of those other podcasts as well, you can find us on any of your local streaming platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And tell your friends. You know, word of mouth is the biggest way to get a podcast out there. So, and then subscribing and actually leaving reviews is what helps us get up there. So every review counts. So if you're thinking, I maybe won't leave a review, you should. I mean, only if you have nice things to say, please. But but like you should do that for all your favorite podcasts. I've reviewed all my favorite podcasts. So
and it doesn't have to be that in depth, and you don't have to think of like the most eloquent way to say, like, no, it could just be like,
I like this.
I like this. This is great. 5 stars, or whatever. Just hopefully not 1. But yeah, we would appreciate that.
Yes, for sure. And then if you want to let us know your thoughts on Pearl or X, or what you think Maxine is going to be about, you can reach out to us and let us know on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes. Okay. I'm gonna have to like start repracticing that, because I've totally, since our little hiatus, it's like it's not there. It's like I gotta redo it.
Up. We're on computer screens now instead of actually sitting across from each other. So everything's weirder. Like we have to wait longer we have to wait longer to hear if, like, I have to wait for you to stop talking, so that way it's not like overlapping and everything, and you have to wait for me to stop talking. Like there's just these pauses now that we'll have to learn to work around, but it's fine. And what are we covering next, Josh?
We're going to be covering Silence of the Lambs.
Yay!
I'm excited because I don't think I've ever honestly even have seen this movie like all the way. I know I've seen pieces of it, but I've never seen it all the way. Like, yeah. And like,
how exciting.
Have sat through the whole thing and like actually be like, paying attention. So yeah, we're going to be watching that, Silence of the Lambs. And I don't know. We've got a few more. We've got our other movies picked out, but I don't want to say them just yet, because things happen, and I don't want to say something and then we change our mind or it'd be something else. So we do have some really exciting things coming up for y'all, though. And yeah, if you'd like to be ready with us for that episode, you can watch it sometime this week and stick around for that episode to drop next week, and you can hear our opinions on everything Hannibal Lecter and Clarice.
Yes. Hello, Clarice.
Hello. So yeah, is there anything you want to add, BooBae?
Nope. Not for me.
Right. Well,
so until next time, you guys.
Bye, Baes.
Bye, Baes.
Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.